Okay. Uh, oh, the TA is not here. Okay. Um, okay. I write a very short program to try to figure out what is the most available time for our collaborative learning. Okay. So it shows that the most available time is like Tuesday evening, right? Wednesday evening, and also like Monday evening. Okay. Uh, Tuesday, Wednesday. Okay. So later on, I'll ask when TA was in, we will actually determine a collective learning session starting this week, because later on we'll tell you there will be a homework assignment, right? So you will need some help in installing in what install. You basically have a few things to do, right? Let me start with the R introduction, a very brief R introduction, and then we'll go to the homework assignment, right? And then we need to determine when is the collaborative learning session, okay? I'm sorry that I cannot do it for everyone, right? But that's the best that I can do, right? And this is why we want to learn programming, right? Because if I actually look into your question now and try to decide this, it will take a long time, right? But as long as you can do R programming, like with just few lines of code, you can actually see the what is the best solution, right? This is a kind of business analytic, right? Because I'm using data to do the best decision, isn't it, right? Now let's talk about R, okay? Well, as I say, don't think that programming is a very difficult thing, okay? It's in the beginning, it's especially R is a thing that very easy to get started, okay? So so our mission this week is to get you started, right? Is to get you started, okay? Now, if you want to do R programming in your own notebook computer, you need to install two pieces of software, okay? You need to install Base R and also RStudio, okay? In this week's material, I'll give you a course preparation slides, right? Okay. If you follow this instruction, it will tell you how to install Base R in Windows, in Macs. How many people are using Mac? Higher, right? It's higher. So we have 2 or 3 Macintosh people, and the rest of you are using IBM PC, right? Okay. So IBM PC, the installation process is a little bit different. Okay. So you can follow this instruction, try to install it yourself, or you can bring the PC to the collaborative learning session, and we can help you do that. Okay. If you want to attend the session, I would suggest you bring your PC to the. If you want to attend the collaborative session, I'll suggest you bring it to us, so you can avoid some problem, right? Okay. So as I told you, if you want to do it in your own notebook computer, you need to install this 2 pieces of software, right? However, for this week's homework assignment, you don't need to do it yet. Okay. This week's homework assignment, we will do R programming online in the data camp. Okay. So there is an online environment, which it actually kind of like teach you how to get started with R, like line by line, word by word. Okay, so it's kind of like an online kick-off like toolkit, right? You don't need to install anything, just your browser and go to the website, and then you can write some basic R code and have some basic concept about R programming language already. Okay. So, but before that, I would like to give you some introduction. Okay. So, R and this, actually, R language is this software, right? And this R Studio is actually just the interface. Okay, it's a beta interface that you can use R to help you use R. Okay, R language, the program it by itself is in the base R, right? But if you are using this type of interface, it's like kind of difficult to do programming, right? So R Studio is a better environment, better interface, so you can use R easier, right? Okay. So R is actually an interactive data object computation environment, as I told you. Okay, it is not designed as a programming language. It's not an engineering type of thing. Programming language is a type of engineering thing, right? But R language is actually an environment, right? So it's not. 问题 Can you call 建华? Can you call in 建华? We need to determine this week's collective learning time, right? So I want him to come in. Okay, so get back to here. So it's a interactive data object computation environment, right? Okay, so so in R, like writing program is just a process that defines and update data object with expression. Okay, this is the two sentence that we need to learn before you can get started with R. First of all, R is an interactive data object computation environment. And second thing is doing programming in R is kind of just define and update data object with expression, right? There are some terminology that I will explain, okay? After this explanation, you can get started. You can start writing program already, okay? So let me do some cleanup here, okay? Maybe let me get into. So after you install R in R Studio, and you start R Studio, and usually this is the interface that you will see. Okay, here is the, as you can see that this is the file system, right? It's your file system, right? Where you can put your code, put your data, right? You can actually press this key and then you can. This is the Windows environment, right? If you are in the Mac, you have the Mac file system. So you can choose a folder to get started with, okay? And then this is the R Studio type of interface, okay? And in this size, actually you can, in the beginning you will print some introductory type of things. If you want to clear it, you can put Control R, then it will clean. You will be a clean interface. I told you that it is the interactive computation environment, right? Interactive computation environment. So you can type in any mathematical expression, 1 plus 2, and you press return. It will calculate it for you. So it very basically, it's interactive like a calculator, okay? You put in a mathematical expression, and then you will evaluate the expression and interactively give you the result, okay? Mathematical expression can be very, very complicated, right? I can say 100 divided by 5, and then plus 200 divided by 3. Okay? And then for some reason I want to like times 202, right? I mean, mathematical expression is the things that with this number and operators, right? By operator I mean the slash for divide, right? Star for time, for multiply, right? And parentheses, right? You can basically express everything, right? The reason that it called expression, it means that you can express whatever you want to calculate, right? In this way, right? So expression by itself is a very, very flexible language already, isn't it? Okay? So first O is interactive calculator, right? Okay. And the second thing is like I tell you that interactive computation environment, right? But there's a very important keyword called data object. Okay? In R, you can define and you can update data object. Okay? I told you that writing program in R is actually just defining or updating data object with expression. Okay? Let me give you a real example. That would be easier to get started, right? Now, suppose that we want to suppose we have a business for example, if we have an uncertainty event, right? Okay, uncertainty. So it has 3 different outcomes that may happen, okay? And the outcome A has a probability of 0.5, B has a probability of 0.3, and outcome C has a probability of 0.2, right? It's uncertain, right? We do not know A, B, or C will happen. But from the history, from the data, we know that the probability of A, B, and C are 0.5, 0.3, and 0.2 respectively. Okay? And then if A happen, I will have a payoff of $50. Okay? If B happen, I will lose 100. If C happen, I will have a positive 80. Okay? So this is a kind of like a business situation, right? An uncertain business situation. We don't know whether A or B or C would happen. But I know that if A happen, it has this probability that A would happen. And if it happen, I will have the payoff, right? Basically, this is very basic business data, right? Now, what do we want to do? We want to calculate the expected value, right? It's uncertain, but I don't know what would happen, right? But I can has expected value, the most likely value that I would obtain, right? Not certain that I would get that value, right? But if I repeat this event like again and again and again, in average, it will go to this expected value, right? That is the basic principle of probability and statistics, isn't it? Right? In business, we face uncertainty, right? If that uncertainty event only happened once, okay, then the uncertainty is like very difficult to handle, right? But if that event happened again, and again, for example, if you have like 100,000 customer, right? So that expected value will be very trustworthy, right? Isn't it, right? So we have this uncertainty event. We want to calculate the expected value. Now in the R environment, what can we do? If you want to do it mathematically, you need to like 0.5 times multiplied by 50, right? You multiply 0.3 by minus 100, and then this is the sum of product type of calculation, isn't it? This thing multiplied by this thing multiplied by this thing, it multiplied by this thing, and then sum it together. It's the expected value, right? So we want to do that in the R environment. Okay, what can we do? Okay, so actually you can define the data object called P. Okay, let's define the data object called P, and then we have the probability 0.5, 0.3, 0.2. Okay. If you want to do this in R, you say P equal to okay. So because we are putting three numerics together, right? The C function, okay, is to define a vector, right? Is to define a vector. So use the equal sign, okay, or you can use in R. This thing is equivalent to the equal sign, okay. So you want to assign this vector into the data object and give it a name, right? Okay, P. Okay, in the RStudio environment, this area is called console area. In the console area is an interactive calculator, right? Whatever you type in the in the console area, it will be evaluated and give you the result, right? Okay, but for some reason, in this case, we don't want to print the result, okay? We want to set the results into a data object, right? If I only say this, it will actually tell me that it is the vector, right? So if I simply type in this vector, it will like print the vector, right? But we don't want to do that. We want to define a data object called P because it's the probability, isn't it? Right? Now, with the equal sign, then you can actually assign the result of the expression in the right-hand side to an object name that you define. The object name, you can specify object name whatever you wish, okay? There are some rules, okay? But basically, whatever alphabetic name is allowed, okay? So we call it P. So after we do this, after I hit command, look at here, right? I will actually define a data object called P, okay? Let's see. See? Here P appear, right? So if I want to call back P, I just P return, right? P, the value of P is here, right? Okay. So, and I can also define another data object called C. Which reflect to here, right? Reflects to the payoff, 50. So now I have two data object, okay? This is called define data object, okay? And then I can use the data object to do calculation. For example, I do P multiplied by V, okay? Then what do we have? We have 5 multiplied by 50, okay? sorry, the P is wrong, right? It should be 0.5. Sorry, I'll do it again. So it's like 0.5 multiplied by 50, 0.3 multiplied by, right? Okay.
Professor, when you wrote the new P, the system forgets the previous definition of P.
Right. If you assign something into already existing object name, the existing value will be erased. Okay. So the first time you use the name, you define a new object. The second time you use you assign something into the name, you update the data object, right? So in this line of code, we like define an object. In this line of code, we define another object, right? And then we can do calculation with this object. Okay? But this is not what we want, right? We want to add them together, right? For expected value, you need to be added together, right? In R, there is a built-in function called sum, right? Okay. If you want to sum a vector, then you can do. Okay. In this way, this expression is the same as this mathematical expression, okay, in R, okay? So you can define data object, and then you can evaluate the expression, use the data object in the expression, and evaluate the expression, right? So in this case, see, the expected value is 11, right? That is how we do programming in the R environment, okay? In R, every data is a data object, okay? And doing program is actually just a process that use expression to define or update the data object, okay? Up to this point of time, we are doing programming in this console area, right? But usually you will not do that, because if I want to do a process again and again, right? Usually I would create a R script file, okay? So so I can type my program here, okay? The thing that you type in the console area, it will be executed immediately. But if I do the programming in this area, it's like a text editor, right? It's like a text editor. So whatever I put in here, it's like I edit the program first and then execute it later, right? So let me do the same thing here, right? So P equal to C. And then V equal to, sorry, 15. Right? Okay. And then I want to calculate. Say I want to define another. See, I can type several lines of command in this area, right? And when I type these things, nothing will happen here. It's not executed yet. Okay, it's kind of like editor, right? So in editors, it's easier, right? If you make mistake, you can like update it easier, right? And then you can execute the 3 lines of code at once, okay? So after the execution of this 3 lines of code, you can see that we have defined P, we have defined V, and actually we define, right? By using this equal signs, I actually like define the result of this expression, assign the result of this expression into a data object called expected value, right? So this is 11. So now I can execute this program again and again, right? For example, if my situation changed, right? It changed to the probability might change, right? Right? The expected value might change, right? Right? So after changing this, I run it again. Now see it again, right? This is what program do, right? You have a process. You have some kind of process, right? And you can define the process by defining data object, use expression, right? And then the expression can be like anything like data object, mathematical operator, right? And it can also use some function codes, right? Now you might have a question that how do I know the function codes? You will learn that like one by one, okay? It's kind of like learning language, right? It makes no sense to give you all of the vocabulary before we start doing things, right? So along the way, you will learn more and more functions, right? Okay. So in the expression, you can have data objects, you can have numeric values, right? You can have parentheses, and you can also have function codes, okay? And because expression by itself is very, very flexible, right? So whatever you can express, right, you can basically realize in this fashion, okay? That's how we do programming in R, okay? So let me recap very quickly. So R is actually an interactive data object computation environment, right? Which means that whatever you type in this console area, that expression will be evaluated and the result will print out for you, right? And sometimes you don't want to print out the result. You want to set the result in the data object, in the name, right? Okay, so if you do that, you will see the data object, you defined it here, okay? So you can repeatedly use use expression to define new data object or update the value of existing value data object, right? That's called programming. Okay. Is that any question so far? So you know what is programming, right? You know what is R. Yeah, sorry.
I'm wondering, do you need to define, like, for Python or SQL, sometimes you need to differentiate between integers and float. Do you need to differentiate it using R, or no?
No, in R is actually quite flexible in this way. I would say that. You don't need to do that. You don't need to say that this is integer, that is numeric, and this is double, and this is whatever, right? Engineering language, you will need to specify that detail. But in R, you don't need to do that. Okay? And that is one advantage in using R, right? It's very intuitive, isn't it? Okay. Okay, so this is R language and programming. Okay? So you only need to make sure you understand this keyword, interactive, right? Data object. Okay? and also expression. Okay? So after you understand this keyword, these three keywords, like writing program is nothing. It's nothing but define or update data object with expression. You can have a very long sequence though. Okay? If your business logic is very lengthy, then you can have a very long program. But whatever you do, you are doing this. Okay? So it is like very easy, isn't it? Okay. Now let me look into the R language one step further, right? Okay. So every piece of data is an object. Okay, in R, it's the first rule, right? And the object can have a name. Okay. So as you can see that every object has a name, right? And besides the name, it also has a value, isn't it? Right? So expected value is a object name, and its value is like -21. Okay? P is the name, right? And it is a vector, right? So you have 3 values in a row. Okay? So the name can be reused. I mean, you can reuse the name. But if you reuse the name, the existing content was lost. Okay? That's called update, right? You use the name and then you update its value. And the original content is gone, right? And then expression. What we can put in the expression are actually objects. Can be, you can use operator, you can use functions, right? So you can, in any various combination, right? So because you can combine them in any combination, so it's very, very flexible, right? And if it was too complicated, you can actually split it into several steps, right? Okay? If the expression is very, very big, then you can, for example, you have a very large numerator and denominator, right? You can calculate the numerator first, calculate the denominator second, and use the third line to combine them together, right? Okay? You can actually put everything in the expression, okay? But usually you will split it up, right? So that you can, in a manageable complexity, you can write your program. Right? Now, so program is, as I say, it's just define new object or update existing object. Okay, so this is enough. Okay, it's all you need to know before you do R programming. Okay, so it's too easy, right? you think that it's like too easy, right? But well, when you get one step further, what make programming difficult is actually the data object, as we have mentioned. It has a name, it has a value. That's straightforward. Okay, but besides name and data object, besides a name and a value, an object can have a structure, and it also can have a type. Okay, I mean, a data object could be numeric, could be integer, right? It could be logical, right? It could be true, false, right? And it could be a factor. By factor, I mean it is a categorical data, right? Male, female, your department, right? Things like that is kinds of the categorical type of variable, right? It can be character. For example, your name, right? Your address, right? Your student ID, kind of like that. It's not category, right? Your name is not a category. It is a character string, right? Okay? But your department, right, is a category. Because it if every student has a record, that the name is not likely to be duplicated, right? Sometimes it will, but Most of the time it would not, right? But your department will be repeated, right? Again and again, isn't it? Right? So that is the difference between factor and character, right? And there are some other type like date, right? The date data type is actually quite troublesome, as you will experience later, okay? So we have different type of data, right? And some object is not singular. As we can see in our beginning example, right? This one is a singular value, right? So it's easier to understand. But for P, it was actually a vector, right? Okay, so a vector is actually a sequence of value of the same type, right? I mean, a vector is actually a sequence of value with the same type, right? So it could be a numeric vector, right? It could be a logical vector. For example, this one is a numeric vector of length 3, okay? So, and structure is not just vector. It can have, if it was one dimension, then it's a vector, right? Sometimes it's two-dimensional, right? So it will become a matrix, right? It will become a data frame. Sometimes you will have list, right? So because different structure and different type of object, when you do the calculation, they behave differently, okay? Right? By its nature, right? By its nature, different structure and different type of object, when you do the computation, they behave differently, right? So that's what makes programming difficult, isn't it? Right? That is the complexity of programming, right? So the very, very first thing that you need to learn is to get familiar with some of the commonly used structure and commonly used data type in the R environment, right? Okay? I mean, this is easy, right? The general principle is easy, right? But when you want to get to a real world, you need to get familiar with the data object's structure and type, okay? Before you can use this R language to do some real things, isn't it? Right? Okay. And that is your homework assignment for this week. Okay. Now, the time is already 11:49. Okay, so let me go to the assignment first. Usually I would as I told you that every unit will have, every week you will have a page, right? A unit page. Now in this unit page there will be a assignment. Okay? Yeah. So first of all, if you have not filled in the form, you need to fill in the form. And then install R and RStudio, right? Try to use the hint I give you, or if you run into problem, bring it to collective learning session. Okay? And then I want you to watch the YouTube playlist. Okay, this is a YouTube playlist. Sorry?
Professor, do you have an English alternative to the YouTube playlist?
This playlist is in English.
R, we need two pieces of software. The base R and also the RStudio programming interface.
Okay. This
And
playlist,
together, these two pieces of software comprise of a computational
10 minutes.
environment.
it's
R
a 10 minute
is not a
video.
formal programming language. It is just an interactive data object computation.
If you listen to what I have told you, this basically just repeat what I told you already, right? I just want you to review the things that I told you already, okay? So it's just 10 minutes. So read it first, okay? And then I want you to apply for your own DataCamp account, right? Go to DataCamp, and then you need to like sign in or get started, right? You need to use an email address, okay? I would suggest you use your Gmail email address, okay? So the login name of your DataCamp is actually your email address, okay? So I would suggest you use your Gmail address as the so after you apply for your login, you can like just sign in, right? Okay, sign in. I already have one, so it's just I can sign in. Okay, after you sign in into your DataCamp, now I want you to well, sorry, it's disappeared again. Let me. So I want you to complete this course. It's called Introduction to R. Okay. So if you go to this course, it is a free course. Okay, which means that you don't need to pay anything, right? Later on, I would guide you to do some pay course, but you don't need to pay anything because I already I will like give you the permission to in this semester you can actually do every course in DataCamp for free. Okay, so I'll put you in a list called DataCamp Classroom. Okay, so in this semester you don't need to pay for anything. You don't need to pay for any course in the DataCamp. Okay, but this one is free already, so you don't need to do that. So in here, as you can see, that this is a free course, right? So if you go into the course, it will look like first one is introduction, next thing is vector, third thing matrix, fourth thing factor, data frame list, right? So it will go. This course is basically just to get you familiar with the data type and actually the structures, okay? And how we can define and manipulate and compute this basic data object types, okay? That is what you want to do. Let me get into this. So if you get started, you can see that there are many after you get started, you will go to an interface like this. Okay. So in the right hand side, as you can see that this is section 1, right? Okay, and you have section 2, section 3, section you call it chapter, right? Chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6. Right? Every chapter has a lot of exercise. Okay? And each exercise, if you do it right, you will get a 100 point. Okay? You don't really need to like look for 100 point for everything, but in this sequence you will get you will went through a lot of exercise, right? Okay? And for each of this exercise, in this side, it will tell you what to do, right? And you write the R code here, okay? And then you can execute the R code and submit your answer, right? For example, here is an example, calculate 3 plus 4, right? And then you want you to calculate 6 plus, Okay, so that's it. And then you can like kind of select the thing and choose run code. So after you run the code, you will see that the result will be here. Okay, so because this is online, right? So the entire thing is running on data camp, right? So you don't really need to install R and RStudio in your notebook to do that, right? Just follow the link, and it will guide you through the everything. Okay, it's got the point. Now after you satisfied with what you have typed in, you can do submit answer. Okay, so if you submit it right, then you get your point. Okay, continue. Then you continue to the second one, the third one, the fourth one, things like that, right? So as you can see that in this exercise, teaching you some arithmetic operators, right? So it give you some operator, right? Well, see that it will give you some sample and let you do some exercise. So you just follow what he want you to do. For example, here, he want you to do exponentiation. Okay. Now exponentiation is actually this operator, right? Okay. So so what do you want to do? You want to do 2 to the power of 5, right? So it's 2 to the power of 5. Okay, that's what you want to do, right? So in the beginning, you will actually kind of like give you the answer, right? So you just follow what the instructions say, then basically you're okay, right? So just for example, 28. Right? It's only one. And you can actually select a line and run the line and see what happened, right? For example, if you run into difficult, for example, you just actually to do modulo, you need 2%, right? But if for some reason you make it wrong, right? See what will happen. You tell it's wrong, right? Okay. So if you execute a line and you find that it's wrong, then check the instruction again, right? If after checking the instruction you still cannot fix the problem, okay, you can take the hint, okay? See, it will give you some hint, right? Okay. If after reading the hint you still cannot fix the problem, you can show the answer. Okay. I mean this is a very, very friendly interface. I don't want you to get stuck. Okay. Now the best way is to bring the thing to the collaborative learning session, and then let's do it together. Okay. So if you run into problem, we can solve the problem together and immediately. Okay. So if you do it at home, sometimes you just do it like this, and then when you submit the answer, you will find an error, and you can get stuck in here like in an hour. Okay, it's be very, very frustrating, right? So that's the reason for the collaborative learning session. Okay, of course you can take the hint and do and see the answer, but I don't encourage you to do that, right? So after you finish everything, you will get a certificate, okay? So the TA will teach you how to get the certificate and upload it as your first week homework assignment, okay? That's for all, okay? That's the, let me see. Yeah, that's for all, okay? So you complete this course, you will get download the certificate and upload it here with your student ID, followed by introduction are. Is that clear? Okay. So there's one more thing that we need to determine, right? The collaborative session for this week, the time. Okay. So I forget what is. Let me run the program again. Since I told you this is why we want to write program, right? Okay, so when do you want to do the session this week? Do you want to do it like let me consult our TA first, because this is your available time, right? Our TA also need to be available. So Jianhua and Wanqi, what is the best time for you? If we do our session tomorrow or sorry? Wednesday? You prefer in Wednesday? Sorry, say louder. I cannot hear it. Jianhua can be in Thursday or Tuesday? Tuesday and Thursday. So how about we do it in Tuesday, tomorrow evening?
Professor, I have a class from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. every Tuesday.
But that's most people available. If I so let's make a we cannot do it Monday, right? It's like too rush, isn't it? Okay. So let's try to do it like Tuesday or Wednesday. Okay. So if we let's do a poll. Okay. Whoever want to do it Tuesday, raise your hand. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it's Tuesday, right? Okay. So if you cannot attend the collaborative learning session, maybe we can do some adjustment later on. And because I have another course, okay, so that course will also have a collaborative learning session, okay, and you can actually go to that session if you prefer, okay.
And what time is?
So we'll do it like Tuesday evening, okay? So Jianhua, can you make it tomorrow afternoon? To tomorrow evening. So can you go borrow a classroom for us and do the announcement in the Facebook? You can do that, right? Just borrow a classroom, right? And then how about the time? We want to do it like usually we'll do it like in 1800 to 1100, right? Is it good for you?
Repeat the time, please.
Sorry?
Can you repeat the time, please? From 6
from 1800
6 o'clock.
to 2100,
16.
right? 6 p.m. to 9 p.m.
I might arrive a little bit late because I actually work and I finish at 6.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. How about we move it a little, like 6:30 to 9, okay? 6:30 to 9. It would be easier because you need to eat, right? It would be like 6 p.m. might be too rush. So Jianhua, let's make it like 6:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., right? For now, let's set it at Tuesday evening, okay? And Jianhua will follow the classroom and let everyone know. Okay? Alright. So that's all for today. And any question? Or if you have question, you can like come to me in person. Okay? So that's all for today. So do your homework. If you run into problem, even that you cannot go to the collective session time, just write to me, right? Come to me. I can solve the problem for you, maybe in person. Okay? Okay. That's all for today. Class dismissed.